Gwen is 81 years old and lives alone in the house she shared with her late husband Donald in Richland Center, Wisconsin. She's been by herself for 7 years and has gotten along fine until a couple of years ago. Seemingly all at once, her best friend Gail died. Then Gwen slipped in the bathtub, breaking her wrist, and was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. It was a rough couple of months, and it seemed like just about everything was difficult to do subsequently. Even the things that were easy before. Even the things she used to enjoy. With Gail gone, she sometimes felt like there wasn't much reason to even bother getting out of bed. And she wasn't the only one affected. Her oldest son, Ron, lives 4 miles away, on the other side of town. The worst part about all of this was how guilty Gwen felt about having to call Ron for help a couple of times a week, sometimes every day. Fortunately, about a year ago, the folks at the local ADRC set her up with ECHESS. It's late November on a Tuesday morning. Gwen wakes up at 7 a.m., a bit later than usual, and makes coffee. Even before she opens her morning paper, she sits in front of the touchscreen display on her kitchen table and checks her ECHESS screen. She sees she has an in-home nurse visit scheduled at 4 p.m. today, and she notices the reminder to herself to make sure and vote. She's got 2 new messages, one sent by her granddaughter, Katie, looks like it's got some more pics of little Jared, and one from her exercise team. There's a new goal set, 4 15-minute dumbbell sessions for the week. She has yet to let her team down, though the exercises can sometimes get a bit tedious. She looks at the pics of Jared right away. He looks just like Ron did when he was little, but will respond later tonight. After the paper, it's laundry day, and she's got cookie baking on the mind. The kitchen smells like ginger snaps. An ECHESS alert sounds, and she ignores it because she's on the phone with Ron. When she's done talking, she walks to the kitchen table and taps OK on the screen. It seems you've been spending more time in bed than usual. Are you feeling dizzy or lightheaded? She answers no. Make sure you call your doctor if you start to. You are almost out of warfarin. Would you like to order more for delivery? She again answers no, as she enjoys picking it up herself. It's a chance for her to get some air and to see pharmacist Chad, who makes her laugh. And so handsome. She gets in her car and heads to the pharmacy. Inside, Chad pulls up an ECHESS report and notices that it looks like she has been experiencing more fatigue and swelling of the ankles than usual in the last couple of weeks. When he asks her if she's been consistently taking her Lasix pills, she comes clean with him. Reading the paper every morning, Gwen has developed strong feelings about this election period. She wants to stop to vote at the community center on the way home, but she's not familiar with the route and not feeling as comfortable as she used to behind the wheel. She says community center into her customized GPS unit and is directed on a route adjusted especially for her preferences, avoiding left turns on any busy streets. She knows that's where a lot of folks end up in trouble. When she's done voting, all she has to do is press home on the screen and follow the special route back. Receiving medical services at home could be stressful for Gwen. It used to be difficult to keep track of who was coming, when, and for what, and she felt anxious sitting around the house waiting. Another ECHESS alert sounds. On the screen is a picture of Christine, Gwen's nurse, and a notice that she would be 15 minutes late today. Good to know. Christine shows up about a quarter after and checks in by inserting a thumb drive into the computer on the table. Christine is the only one Gwen knows who can stick in an IV needle without causing any pain, which is why she gets a cookie on her way out. And when a survey pops up asking Gwen how Christine did, a 5-star rating. Gwen actually found Christine using the service dependability feature, scheduling appointments with her because she had been rated highly by others who needed similar services. As Gwen is watching Murder, She Wrote, an iPad vibrates on the coffee table. She picks it up and sees it's a weather alert. Looks like it's going to snow tonight and tomorrow morning. She watches a brief instructional video on how to use yak tracks and walk safely on ice. She's been leery of all things slippery since her fall in the tub, so she listens closely. She already knows that little knuckleheaded Johnny from down the street will be over to shovel first thing in the morning, as he always is. A while back, ECHESS asked her what she liked to do, and she entered in cooking, state history, and of course, Murder, She Wrote. Later, a community organizer called her up and asked her if she would be interested in swapping some cookies and impromptu state history chats, both of particular interest to the young knuckleheaded Johnny, for some snow shoveling, which her wrist prevented her from doing. They struck a deal. Johnny would shovel, and Gwen would bake and teach. Johnny's parents were thrilled to have him out of the house now and again. Johnny's mother wearily refers to him as a boy with way too much energy. Ron is the only one of her 4 children that still lives in the area, and though he would have never said so to his mother, he was at the end of his rope before ECHESS. He'd been the coach of the JV Hornets basketball team for almost 20 years, but when his mother got sick, he almost had to quit coaching entirely. He had to be over at her house almost every night. There were no other options. Things were okay now, though. He could check up on her from work. He'd log on, and he could see that she was up and had eaten, using sensors in the living room and in the fridge. He could see that she had received the in-home nursing that she required once every 2 weeks, and if anything seemed off, or if he just wanted to check in, he could video chat with her and see how she's doing. Part of what allowed Ron to keep coaching the kids was the help he got from other caregivers in his ECHESS network. He'd logged on to chat rooms to find out how others had successfully dealt with chronic pain management, etc. And it was always refreshing to talk to people who understood how hard it could be caring for a parent. Perhaps the best part, he could go visit his daughter and new grandson in Minneapolis as often as he wanted to, because he had connected with a network of neighbors who agreed to step in and respond to alerts in his absence, in case Gwen ever had trouble while he was away. Gwen is usually able to keep herself occupied during the day, but at night, when there isn't much going on, she often thinks of Donald, and sometimes a terrible sadness washes over her. Gail had lost her husband, too, in the same year as Gwen. Gwen and Gail used to trade off visiting each other in their homes in the afternoons. It always made both of them feel better to talk, even if it was about nothing in particular. When Gwen first tried ECHESS, she had learned to use the simple video chat and email features so that she could talk to her granddaughter after she moved a year ago, and really wanted to be able to keep in touch, so she learned fast. She hadn't expected to use it for anything but that. Eventually, though, she followed the invitations made by ECHESS and joined a chat room. It was supposed to be a place to talk about cooking, but often the talk ended up being about nothing in particular, which was just fine with Gwen, though she did appreciate when others shared pictures of their cookies, turkeys, cherry pies. It isn't as good as visiting with Gail, but it's always there for her, and somehow makes the sad evenings less sad. Saving her favorite part of the day for last, Gwen opens up the message and writes back to her granddaughter, Katie. She pulls up a picture of Ron when he was little and sends it along for comparison. "See, same crooked smile," she writes. She clicks on send. Time for bed.